Hey y'all, Jennifer Kelz Kelly here with Keepin It Real with Kelz, where I talk about soft life, real lessons built the hard way. This is my second episode, and I want to talk about the origin and basically my why behind why I built the life the way I did and the way that I have. So basically, I'd like to start with when I became interested in the beauty industry. And to be honest, that was in high school when I was looking for alternate routes other than traditional college. I graduated in 2006. So back then, college was one of the main routes for us. And I lived in a town where if you didn't go to college, you were basically a farmer. And they did very well for themselves as well. So I didn't really think cosmetology came off as much of a viable option at the time. And it was definitely a little looked down upon. And the options were very limited. It was really only hair for school, cosmetology school, and very few nail or skincare courses. They did teach a lot of waxing and hair at the time. But I wasn't fully interested in doing hair. I just was interested in the industry a little bit. So instead of going into the industry, I joined, I went to college. First I went to Ball State for a semester. Decided that wasn't really for me. I thought I wanted to be a news anchor. And then I went to Ivy Tech for about a year, just trying to finish some general classes and maybe get that liberal arts degree that was so popular back then. But I couldn't quite land on anything. I even took some medical courses and leaned towards radiology. So a little bit of, med term and biology, chemistry, A&P. Wanted to also Spanish, hablo poquito español. And basically I did not finish college because I still couldn't land on one thing. I ended up kind of dropping out of college or ending after about a year. I was paying for my apartment. I was working a couple jobs, and I'd even started dancing, mostly for fun and to make some extra money. And it kind of turned into like its own thing. I moved down to Atlanta. I was making a lot of silly decisions around a lot of interesting characters. And I kind of just got myself wrapped up in a couple things, and I decided I really need to make some type of move. And once again, I looked at going to beauty school. I even went back and kind of asked my parents for some guidance, and they basically said, you got to pick something because what you got going on right now ain't working. So I kind of jokingly said I was going to join the military, and everybody thought, sorry, technical difficulties. And everybody thought that was, at the time, a great idea. So I felt like that was a challenge, and I went ahead and joined the Air Force. I became an intel analyst, and I guess we'll do lightless. That's okay. Next time. So I became an intel analyst, and for 5 years, I did my job as a, imagery, FMV, full motion video, working with the drones a little bit, and my body and my mind just couldn't handle it. I actually ended up retiring after 5 years medically. I was having a lot of migraines, sleep issues, just a lot of, body nerve pain, arthritis in my neck at, 26 years old. This was back in 2013 when I started transitioning out, and I decided to find something that was a little bit more fun that I could just do part-time. And I started with nail school because I bite my nails, and it was always a struggle to find someone to be able to do my nails. And when I found a nail tech, her name's actually Regina from Virginia. She was not of a traditional nail technician type from that time. She was actually Puerto Rican. And she said, girl, anybody can learn to do nails. Like, you do it too if you want. And so I went to school and I learned how to do my own. I started doing some clients out of my apartment. I had a room set up, and then I moved into a house and I set a room up there. And I grew a really large clientele in Virginia, and many of those people are still with me and keep up with me to this day. Hey y'all, Nailed by Kelz. It's where I started. It's where it all started. And being in the military, I ended in Virginia. I met my son's dad in Virginia, and that was around 2014. We moved to Seattle, the Seattle area. It was actually Marysville, Everett areas where I was staying, and my son's dad was in Whidbey Island for work. I was trying to still do nails out of our house and build a clientele there, and it just wasn't as popular. So luckily, when I left Virginia, I had also learned permanent makeup, but permanent makeup wasn't very popular yet. So I decided to, try to offer it again in Washington, and people started picking that up. It was becoming really popular. This was around 2015, 2016. I decided to go back to school for aesthetics to add on to my knowledge. And then after aesthetics, I was renting a small suite. I was booth renting, and then I found a suite, and then I found a commercial place, and oh, the horror stories I'm going to tell y'all. Whew. Between the schools I have been to that weren't up to par, and between some of the landlords that I have had, you'll really understand the why. But today we're not going to go into all those details. I want to stay where I'm focused at. And like I said, we're in the positives of the story, just a little bit of the timeline today. So after having the booth rental, a suite, and then a small time at a commercial, like a large suite inside a commercial building, I found a storefront. That storefront helped me grow immensely. I was able to stay there for 3 years. I booth rented a couple booths to mostly other students of mine. I thought I was going to teach nails when I went back to be an instructor, but permanent makeup was so big. It really helped grow my empire. I had learned it before it became popular, so I knew there weren't a lot of courses out there, especially not accessible courses and, with more modern techniques. And I'm one of those people who research things to death. So I was very good at putting together a lot of information. I was very nervous to become an instructor, but I had an amazing teacher when I was in school who helped push me. And like I said, that just really grew everything. When COVID hit, I started developing online courses for estheticians. I had over 20 online courses and multiple kits, multiple products for licensed estheticians, and even just other artists like tooth gems, teeth whitening. I was doing microneedling, nanoneedling, BB glow, dermaplaning. Basically, any skill that I knew I could turn into an online course, because there was a need for online courses. There was a lot of gatekeeping before COVID. There was only more in-person courses starting to grow. And when COVID hit, they finally stopped looking down on online certifications. So during COVID, I was able to pivot, but I also, on the family side, decided that I needed to, shift back home. During building this empire, I had my son when I was actually in instructor training. He was a little baby. When I was in aesthetic school, I was pregnant. Like I said, horror stories about schools as well. But when I was in aesthetic school, I was pregnant. When I was in instructor training, he was just a little tiny baby in daycare. And as I was growing this, my son's dad and I split. And during COVID, I was all alone out in Seattle with my family that I had grown from IBK, Image by Kelz. But I did not have any, my village was my family, my grandparents, they were all still in Indiana. So we decided at that time to move back closer so we could be near family. And it was a good move, but it definitely shifted a lot of things for me. All four of my grandparents passed within the first 1.5 to 2 years of us being here, and I'm grateful that we were here. You know, they lived really great lives, long lives, and I've really leaned into my grandma hobby since my grandmas have passed. That's part of what's helping me find some of the grounding here. And like I said, we'll explore some of this in future episodes, but I still keep that alive every day. As I was dealing with that, though, I was still traveling back to Washington to work there, and I was looking for a suite here. I did find a small suite at a local franchise called Jaeger. They were really, really handy and friendly. It was a lot easier than a long-term commercial lease, and I said, wow, why don't they have more of these out here for like beauty professionals? So while I was in that suite and while I was wrapping up my place in Washington, I ended up being able to sell it and letting go of the lease. And after 3 years, and another young lady, was able to build an empire after me. And when I was in Indiana, I started looking for another storefront, and I couldn't really find what I was looking for at the time. And I came across a building that was much bigger than I wanted, but to be honest, it felt like the right push at the time. And I could see the vision for the suites and an event and training room, so I could still do my trainings. Those trainings didn't really grow the way I thought they would here in Indiana, but I continued to offer my online courses. I was doing a lot of mentoring, a lot of networking and consulting and coaching, and it was draining the heck out of me. I also expanded my building, so I took over the entire building. And then in that same year, I took over a second building. This all happened last year. I opened the suites in 2022. So in 4 years' time, I went from 8 suites to 35. And we do still operate the event room as well. It has been a journey being a landlord. I cannot wait to share about all the ups and downs of this learning experience as a landlord. It's definitely different than being an operator, and I am working on finding the passion in it again, because my passion, I believe, was really in building those spaces and creating environments, creating vibes. And it's tough being the enforcement person, and I do it all. I'm the property manager, the website builder, the handyman, all the way up until now. I've literally done every single thing, and I'm just now getting to the point where I'm working on offloading some of that. So, like I said, I definitely like to build things the hard way, trial and error all the way along. While I was operating these suites, I did also get my associate's degree in entrepreneurship. I do believe in just like always adding education when you can. It also helps like grow your resources, your network. And I am really grateful for the experience at Ivy Tech. I still stay in touch with some really amazing, can't call them business owners, because they are innovators, founders, major authors, major time people, inventors, and things like that. And it's really been fun to, continue in touch with those people and just see a different side of business, because I have always been passion projects, the ADHD there, and, getting focused on things is definitely how I've gotten so many certifications and licenses over time. My son has always been a driving force. Like I said, I had him in early 2016. He just turned 10. And I really didn't build this life to have success. I built it for it to work for me. I've had to pivot it so many times, and that's one of the things I'm so grateful for about entrepreneurship. And that's basically kind of why I wanted to start this podcast. This season of my life finally feels like I'm taking some deep breaths. I'm trying to learn to slow down. I am finding more balance and joy. I want to share more of the stories now that I'm in a better, place to actually be able to reflect and understand some of those lessons. I can't wait to get to the behind the scenes. This conversation, obviously I'm not talking to someone, but I am talking to you all, and I'm talking to my girls that have been around, and I'm talking to my community that I've built, and it matters so much more than teaching to me now. Where I'm at in life, I just want to share. I'm not expecting anything in return. I just want to show up, and I hope y'all want to show up, with me. This space is for honest discussions about growth, change, and balance. And I'm in a season where I just, like I said, want to share the behind the scenes. And, this is where those type of conversations are going to happen. So I can't wait for you to follow me along on this journey. Do all the YouTube-y things, find my Instagrams, my Facebook group, join me along on this journey. Can't wait to see you soon.